I'm going to introduce our guest speaker for today, who's flown in specially for this all the way from Lagos, so we're really privileged to have him. And that is Dr. Tayo Aduloju. He's the NESG Senior Economic Fellow, Public Policy, Brookings Institute Okun Model Economic Fellow for Africa and the Middle East. His Senior Executive Fellows, John F. Kennedy School of Government, the Harvard University. Tayo holds a Doctor of Philosophy degree in Global Leadership and Management, focusing on the African leadership practice of economic policy and public administration. The least of his qualifications is a Master's in Business Administration. So.
Okay, so I'm glad to be here. It's a privilege to engage a space that is dedicated to two profound words. I like to think about entrepreneurship as the French economist described it, which is shifting resources from lower to higher levels of productivity, which means that could apply to pretty much anyone, whether you were a design entrepreneur, techpreneur, agropreneur, or like I call myself, policy entrepreneur. Okay. Our work fundamentally is profoundly important because what we do is because we transform the way the world works by creating new value. And that's the challenge of today, isn't it? The challenge of today is how do we look at our environment where there is a lot of low productivity across a vast amount of areas, and how can we leverage our skills and our competencies as leaders to transform pockets of that space and shift opportunities, shift experiences, shift products, services, markets to higher levels of productivity. Because I am a teacher, I will try to just teach and be myself. So my truth is I'm a teacher, and I'll just try to teach, okay? There are four things I'm great at teaching, so I'll just jump right into them. The first is analytics. The second is advisory. Third is on the subject of personal mastery. And I'll try and link both to entrepreneurship and leadership quickly. So let's begin with some basic ideas. First is the world has become a little more crazy over the last 3 or 4 years. And the imperative of the entrepreneur to lead has never been higher. If you look at the global economy, it was in a slump and recovery for 10 years. The world has just started to recover from the 2007 global financial crisis. This is the first year where the whole world is growing. That tells us something. It tells us that the optimism for growth globally is high, and entrepreneurs can begin to thrive again globally. And that's a crucial point. However, there are big issues in the world. Whilst we are back on the path of growth, inequality in the world is rising. So there is a global need for social entrepreneurs, not just people that create businesses, but businesses that deliver social change and impact. Second is Africa. Africa has been in a slump. Even though most of Africa was growing, the lions of Africa were not growing. That's, of course, us, Nigeria, and South Africa. And so Nigeria and South Africa came out of a recession in the fourth quarter of last year. The implication, again, is that things are changing positively, generally, and it points to opportunities for entrepreneurs to take advantage and grow. The second definition of entrepreneurship I like comes from Drucker. Also, I am a student of Drucker, unapologetically. and he said that entrepreneurs don't change things. They notice what is changing, they respond to it, and seize the opportunity. So the reason why I point to these trends is to say, pay attention to what is changing. 42 countries in Africa have joined to form one unified market. The entrepreneur needs to ask whether Nigeria is part of the market or not. We are not yet part of the market. Hopefully we will be. I have traveled 17 states in Nigeria in the last 3 months to try and get us into the market. We are not yet there. There's still a anti-African market Nigeria movement. But whether or not Nigeria gets into the market, you as an entrepreneur, your business is very simple. What's changing in the African market? And if 42 countries form one market, how can I leverage it? How can I pivot into that market? How can I maximize that market? Now, if Nigeria does not participate in that market, the entrepreneurial question is not to ask why we didn't participate. The entrepreneurial question is to ask, okay, how do we leverage not joining that market, right? That brings us to some fundamentals. Of course, the Nigerian problem is a little bit beyond the CFTA. It's also about growth. Nigerian economic growth has been oil-led for many years. The implication of that is that all the sectors follow the trajectory of oil. And that's because we have not seen radical innovation that has allowed growth to be sustainable when oil drops. Okay? That has not changed because, unfortunately, focus of policy has still been oil-led. If you look at the budget for 2018, you still see oil revenues leading everything else. So we ask the question then, these are the analytics. Of course, there are bigger issues in Nigeria beyond the economics. There's the politics. Our politics have been very divisive. We need more inclusive politics. There is a social structure. Of course, many of you have read the World Poverty Clock report, saying that for months. We wouldn't say I told you so, but that's the reality is any approach to grow Nigeria that is not led by entrepreneurship and innovation that radically changes many sectors is not sustainable. Now, this is where we come in. How do we respond to an environment where there is no inclusive growth? Okay, how do we respond as leaders, as entrepreneurs, and as a network, right? Those will be the big questions for this evening. So let me attempt to answer some of those questions. First, as an individual, well, the best way to respond as an entrepreneur to the environment is to ask yourself, what value can I add where I'm at, and what markets can I capture? Some big indicators for that will be, one, your own clear sense of purpose, the purpose of your business, right? And we must redefine the purpose of our business to transcend simply making money. Making money is crucial, but to make the kind of money that is sustainable in a recovery phase, we must deal with several characteristics. One, am I in a business that is scalable? If you're dealing with recovery, scalability is important. If you're an entrepreneur in a recovering economy and you don't have a scalable business model, you are trapped. Two, predictability. Is the business model I'm deploying predictable? Because predictability means that, you have the bread and butter. You guarantee cash flow. Cash flow is the lifeblood of any business in a developing economy. Number three, more importantly, is my business able to bootstrap in difficult changing environments? Another way to put it is that do I have agility? Agility is the ability for a business to be responsive, predictive of many changing dynamics in the environment. Agility means that you likely will pivot between one business model to another in very short periods of time. And so the standard business models that work for a very stable environment where nothing is volatile, nothing is uncertain, nothing is complex, nothing is ambiguous, is not your Nigerian experience. Somebody say amen. It's not your Nigerian experience. Your experience is more close likely to high volatility, high uncertainty, high complexity, high ambiguity. And so agility is crucial. It means that agility means that you are very reflective. You're constantly looking at what's happening and asking, how do I respond to it? And that's not just what you do in the morning. You do it in the morning, you do it in the evening, I check, are we still, and you do it all week long. Number two is that you're responsive. You think deeply about, how do I change? How do I respond to this? Okay? It means, number three, you're resilient. That you're not just building a business that can stand because everything is well. You're building a business that can stand when Nigeria gets crazy. And trust me, Nigeria does get crazy very, very, very often. Number four is that you're resourceful. Agility means that when the rubber meets the road, you will bootstrap your way to the next level, knowing that that's what it takes to get to tomorrow morning or to the end of the week or to the end of the month. Ultimately, if we build agile businesses that are resilient, resourceful, reflective, responsive to the environment, we stand a far better chance, right, of succeeding and excelling. Now, when all fails, we come down to the fundamentals. For me, the fundamental is the law of attraction. I find in my Nigerian experience that when all fails, I attract what I consistently believe, expect, and prepare for. So when all fails, go with this gut feeling that if you're pursuing a dream you believe in, and you're holding that dream positively in your mind every day and walking towards it, that because your heart has chosen a destination, your mind will continue to find a way to get there. I find in my experience that in holding that vision and that dream, I continuously attract into my life my dominant beliefs, passion for the environment. Now, this law of attraction is crucial for several reasons. One, you cannot grow a business beyond your self-image. The business rises to your self-image. You can't make more money than your self-image. In fact, if you make more money than your self-image, how many of you notice what you do with it? You spend it down to the image you're comfortable with. Okay, and we self-destruct if we do not stretch. So, whilst this sounds like a spiritual principle, and it is also the unbreakable law of wealth. So a big part of what an entrepreneur does is to grow internally. You need to grow your business as a national business in your spirit and in your mind before you can attract and sustain it. If not, what happens is that at the first sign of trouble, you will beat yourself back into your corner. So work on your self-image about Nigeria. So whilst everybody says Nigeria is a terrible place to do business, you need to say, Nigeria's problems are my opportunities. Because there's so many problems here, I, the entrepreneur, finds opportunity to grow and expand. Because if all you see is problems, you do not call on what you are best at, you, the entrepreneur, can awaken spirits of innovation, inspiration, ideas that can shift our very existence. Think of the world without all the value innovation that entrepreneurs have brought. This would be a very different world. But the key is they believed they could, right? In spite of insurmountable obstacles. So when all is said and done, and you've looked at all this interesting data and analytics about the environment that I've posed, and it looks impossible, trust this, that the universe attracts to you commensurate to your self-image, about the market. It's almost like tricking yourself about what is possible, but it really does work. So let me end by telling a story. I have always believed that what I will spend my life doing is making money from solving government problems. Very, very strange, right? And so I've always believed to do that, I had to have natural access to the people that make those decisions, right? And everybody tells you that it's not possible to do that for all the reasons in Abuja and elsewhere. But I've always held in my mind two things. One, if I build a damn good product, like Steve Jobs calls it, if I create immense value and I continuously, incrementally improve the packaging, the benefits of that product on a continuous daily basis, sooner or later, I will stand in a space where there is none like my product. And that will give me access to anyone and everyone I need to meet. That has never failed to work, from seeing the president or the last three presidents to seeing practically everyone I would like to see. It's continuously proved itself to be true. Okay? But only because I believe so. Right? So believe in you. Believe in your business idea. You may need to innovate 100 times to get it to where it's ready to take Abuja or take Nigeria or take Africa. But if you believe you can, you will. And of all the things I could tell you to do in the recovery, is have the spirit of an entrepreneur, the capacity to dare. And if you do these things, my guess is that the future will be the limit. Now, let me leave you with a few things to think about. One is blue oceans. Now, when we talk about blue oceans, I'm a teacher of blue oceans, so I like to remind people that blue oceans don't exist in the US. It exists everywhere. And when I got in earlier on, I was chatting with a couple of people, and the few minutes we spoke, it was clear where the blue oceans were, right? In looking at your business and in looking at your business. So blue oceans exist everywhere. The key to blue oceans usually is, don't begin with the traditional market. Ask yourself, where is the uncontested market space? And in Nigeria, it seems that because we're a developing market, the secret is edu-marketing. Okay? You may need to educate your market first to be able to exploit that market, that new market. And you need to know how to do it. So take advantage of blue oceans. Ask yourself, what can I raise in the market that changes the game? You know, what can I create that doesn't exist in my market? What can I eliminate that the market doesn't want, right? And of course, what can I reduce that is a burden to the consumer? If you think in those terms, the 4-point framework, I can send it to you guys later if you've not looked at it yet. Okay, the 4-point framework allows you to do that with Blue Ocean, and it's key. You need to think about your business closely and say, how do I create value? If you think of how the iPod was created, MP3 files had existed already. I mean, everybody knew that MP3 was a file. The key was, how do we get MP3s off disks and put them on chips? That was the hard work. And so what Steve Jobs focused on was, how do I put 1,000 songs in your pocket? That was the key. How do I reduce the size? So it wasn't creating music. Music existed. I don't know if you remember those Dixmen. You know, this crazy thing. And if you were like me that listened to a lot of seminars and all that, you carried a lot of discs around. No, and imagine that the inconvenience of the size of that thing. You couldn't go to work with it. You know, you wear this man and wear your suit. and if you think about it, what he did was he reduced the size, one. What did he eliminate? He eliminated the disc completely. Up until that time, everybody thought of sound on cassettes or discs. He eliminated the disc completely, moved the disc to a chip. Some of your businesses need to leap from one platform to another to be successful. You're trying to do a store when you should be doing an e-commerce business, for example. Remember back to the point I made about predictability of income. If your store only works from 6 to 8, you're restricted. But if your store works 24/7 because it's an e-commerce business, you change the game, right? Those shifts that technology allows you to leverage, pay attention to them. if you're into education and you can move all your courses to e-learning, whether or not you're teaching or not, then you enter repeatable, predictable income. Look, we used to build products where we were trying to, I was leading a consultant firm, we were trying to train 250 days in a year. That would be good business for the year. Then you're stretched. Then we said, well, let's double it by doing 2 streams simultaneously across several days. Then you are out of faculty members because there are just not many really exceptional trainers to put in class. What we then did was we identified 20 courses that we thought were national class, leave world class alone, national class courses. And we said if we moved them to a burning platform and they were available to everyone, and we thought, okay, well, how much is the seminar? The seminar is 100,000, 150,000 per person. We crashed the cost of 2,500 naira or something. And you then suddenly had 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 people taking those courses. Without any faculty members being deployed, we changed the game. So sometimes the secret to growing your business is not to work harder, it's just to move the business to another platform, strategic leaps. So right beside Blue Ocean, you need to take note of strategic leaps. Strategic leaps are powerful. The secret to, how many of you are Marvel fans? How many of you are Marvel fans because of the movies? How many of you were the comic fans? My people. I used to die of Marvel comics. I mean, we would fight in school. Have you read Spider-Man? Then you were telling them, no, the next one, Spider-Man didn't die, he rose. Okay? And you would say, no, Thor hadn't gotten hold of the real hammer. The real hammer came later. And all those comics, if you think about it, a generation that grew up on comics, we were all kids, right? Think about it. What the Marvel universe has done is the comics that only appealed to children have gone through a strategic leap off the comic books into the silver screen. Now, what the comics made is a monumental joke compared to what the silver screen makes. Don't underestimate the power of taking your current business and just making a strategic leap. Now, for some of you, it means changing what you call it. Like what we spoke about, top secret. Okay? Sometimes you've locked your business into a genre and you call it education, whereas it could be vacation or edu-vacation. Why die with an education business nobody wants? Okay? When you could have an edu-vacation business, and what's the difference? You normally would have taken people off to South Africa for a 3-day course that they hate. And now you take people for a 2-week holiday with a 3-day course in between. There's a big difference, right? One is way more expensive and they are willing to pay. Okay? And the other is boring and stiff and ridiculous, and you're there knocking on doors that will never open. Pay attention to the strategic leaps, because sometimes the strategic leaps is less work and more money. Okay, so you really need to pay attention to the strategic leaps. Now, in closing, an entrepreneur needs to be full of themselves. People keep telling me, you're full of yourself. I say, yes, I know. It's on purpose. And to be full of yourself is a very good thing to do as an entrepreneur, because you need to believe in yourself. You need to know yourself. So pay attention to listening to you. What's your identity? What's the identity you want to reflect? Deepen your identity. Your identity is your unique brand of personal greatness. So pay attention to the things that you say to you. There's an inner conversation between your spirit and your mind that you need to quieten to hear. An entrepreneur needs time to awaken the full entrepreneurial spirit within you. Give it the time. Okay? So pay attention to your identity. Pay attention to your talents. Some of your talents are the opportunities for strategic leaps. So when Steve Jobs moved from CEO to Chief Innovation Officer, Apple went to another level. Some of you are stuck because you're not paying attention to the biggest talent you bring to your business. Some of you to outsource management and focus on your core area. Some of you are bad managers, okay? Hire a manager, okay? Because sometimes what your business needs from you is what you're talented to do. Some of you are the talent of you. You're the innovator, and you're trying to play the role of the manager. No, leave the manager to manage, and then look at that once in a while and put the controls and focus on the innovation. Some of you are the managers and you're not the innovators. So you need to hire a team of innovators. Pay attention to the talent you bring to your own business and outsource the rest. Okay? Pay attention to the talent you bring to your business and outsource the rest. Okay? So I said identity, talent, pay attention to your passion. Once you are stuck in a cycle where you lose your passion, go and find it. And if it takes you if it takes you trying several things to find it, go find it. Okay? Because it's worth the chase. Last is your economic engine. Jim Collins said that there are three things that are crucial to find the sweet spot in your business. The first is you need to do something. You need to have a business that is doing something at world class. 2, you need to find something that you can do and be passionate about. And then 3, it needs to make money sense. Okay? So it needs to drive your economic engine. For something to drive your economic engine, it must pass the business model test. Now, what's a business model test? Is there enough market for your MVP to keep the business afloat? Now, you may have 20 products, okay? But your minimum viable product, which is your bread and butter, must be able to drive basic expenses and run the business. So labor over your MVP. Your MVP is your bread and butter. Make sure there is that bread and butter that guarantees that the business can stabilize and there is a basic cash flow. Now, the MVP can be tweaked and reviewed on an ongoing basis, but work on your engine. Okay? Work on your engine. So, with these few words, I hope I've not bored you stiff. Bored you stiff. Bored you stiff and completely said nothing that has made sense. What may be more useful, if we have some time, is to get in some question and answers and understand the businesses in the room and maybe talk to some specifics around this rather broad set of themes and ideas. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't need to say much about who or what LeadPreneur is about. I think it's pretty much been demonstrated here today. We're walking away feeling rejuvenated, inspired, clockwork. So I'll just leave it at that. I am going to call on the brain behind LeadPreneur. He was the one that came up with the idea. He created the opportunity, the meetings, and engineered it all. He just gathered the troops together and just sent us forth. And that would be Mr. Taufik Babayeju, also known as Mr. iCentra.
I thought about LeadPreneur about 7 years ago after our EDC class. And I shared it with Aisha and a couple of other guys that as entrepreneurs, we're supposed to be leaders. And, those two words just came together. And I felt that we should have a network because your network is your net worth. And I've realized that with the network that I've kept at EDC, and we felt we should open up this network to other people. Why it took so long for us to have this kind of conversation is because I didn't want LeadPreneur to be about me. I wanted us to have a group of leaders, thought leaders, entrepreneurs that we can together change the world. Let me start by acknowledging or thanking Dr. Tayo Aduloju. Dr. Bala, please come. You do us the honor of presenting the award to Dr. Tayo Aduloju. So a doctor is presenting to a doctor. So,
on behalf of all of us, I'd like to present this as a token appreciation of your input. We'll be coming around very often, Oliver Twist. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
And also we have a token for you as well. We decide to be celebrating every time we come around an outstanding entrepreneur. Sheyi Adekule, please come up. Sheyi is going to, in a few days, is going to be celebrating 17 years of entrepreneurship. Look for that video online. The next one is we've done Baldon. That's another guy that's put into without taking much of your time, I think my job is done.
My experience today at LeadPreneur was exceptional. It was exactly everything that I anticipated.
When you're in the recovery stage, what you should think of is the next platform to take your business to.
I would recommend LeadPreneur to anybody, and it's been a great experience.
I do encourage everyone to sign up, for the LeadPreneur series.
Leaders who would change things, leaders who would solve problems, leaders who would take the people forward. And I know that is what LeadPreneur is all about.
And I look forward to coming back to engage and partner and have fun with this great, amazing sect of next generation entrepreneurs. I am Tayo Aduloju and I'm a LeadPreneur.
My name is Aisha Atta and I am a LeadPreneur.
My name is Bola Adefila and I'm the CEO of Brand Rituals. I'm a manufacturer and I'm a LeadPreneur.
This is Doyin Balogun, once again the CEO of Baldon Clothiers, and I'm a LeadPreneur.
My name is Edward Enejo. I am a LeadPreneur.